Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Sakamoto Days Season 1, Episode 11. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, we're picking up immediately where the last episode left off with this whole casino battle, as Team Sakamoto has to make more money than Wu-Tang. And I love that, obviously, Wu-Tang has obviously he looks down on Hitman because he has his preconceived notions of who they are and how they operate. And he also says, because they're thinking, bets and, gambling is all about luck. But for Wu-Tang, it's like, no, it's not. Like, we kind of exist to basically... You've got to be able to not just rely on luck. You've got to be able to basically make things happen. And obviously for him, it's about calculating and the chances. And he's counting cards and putting out the percentage of what's the chances I'm going to get the card I need to kind of, win blackjack or whatever, right? And so he looks down on Hitman because he thinks Hitman just rely on luck. But then Sakamoto creates him where he's like, right, there are Hitmen who do rely on luck. And they're the ones that end up dead. Because it's like, you got to have more, yes, luck plays a role in things, but you also have to, it's the same thing as him, where it's like, you mafia types kind of make your own luck by, working at something and getting the outcome you want. It's like Hitmen are the good Hitmen, those who are good and very good at their job, are able to do that. So, and I love that it's not some because, to be fair, none of them know the rules of anything. It almost feels like, also, what did Zhao Ting bring to the table? Because they split up the money. I think it's beautiful how they split it up. Obviously, Sakamoto got 15 million, Shin got 10, and Zhao Ting got 5. But I'm like, did Zhao Ting, except for, the final game, did Zhao Ting actually make any bets or anything? I don't know. We saw Sakamoto and Shin win. But it's but to be fair, Shin wouldn't have won if it wasn't for Zhao Ting. It's like their dysfunctional, sibling-esque relationship actually benefited them in the long run. Because Shin's trying to play poker, and it's like, well, he doesn't know any of the rules to it. And luckily, he can read people's minds. But it's like, well, it's kind of a moot point when you don't really know what you're doing and what you're trying to aim for. And so... everyone's, looking down on him because they think he's an amateur, and they're like, oh, well, this will be an easy win. And then Zhao Ting comes over and they start fighting because she's like, you didn't ask the rules. He's like, I don't have my phone to look stuff up, because it makes sense you wouldn't have your phone because they would make sure they don't want you cheating or anything. But, Shin's got his backup weapon. So when they're like, oh, he's got these cards, this is going to be an easy win. And obviously Shin ends up stealing. And I even love that he's like, hey, next time you're dealing, dealer, why don't you have the cards face up? It would save us a whole bunch of time or something. So Shin ended up winning quite a bit. Then Sakamoto cheating as well, where it's like he went all in, took one coin. To be fair, the house always wins. So the house is designed so that, because this isn't a mafia place. I mean, this isn't specifically related to the Liu family. And I could be misremembering, and I think I made this point last episode. It's meant to be an underground area for anyone in the criminal world. So it's not like the Liu family has any full say on how things operate here. So my point was they're not cheating just for the sake of trying to screw over Sakamoto and his squad for Wu-Tang. I don't think they were. I think it's just they're just, it's the house trying to make sure oh, this is an easy win because he's going all in on red. And I was like, how is Sakamoto going to win this? And he has one single chip, and as the guy uses the electromagnetism of the whole thing to stop the ball where he wants it to, Sakamoto uses his chip, shoots it real fast, makes the thing spin again, and it lands on red, and he comes out the winner. So, and even one guy told Wu-Tang that he's like, they cheated, and he's like, yeah, but just leave them alone, because I guess for him, he was so sure that he was going to win regardless. So he was like, let them cheat or whatever. It doesn't matter. That's what Hitmen are do. They're going to find loopholes. They kind of, even though it's we're kind of in the same territory of operations, he looks at what they do as a mafia as more prestigious than Hitmen. Because I guess he looks at, in the criminal world, he looks at Hitmen as bottom of the barrel. They're lesser than them as a mafia. Because once again, there's heritage, there's lineage and prestige to it, I guess. But yeah, we also learned a little bit about why Wu-Tang is the way he is, why he's always, once again, just been the smart guy, but he also wasn't a good fighter. So people in the Liu family would fight with him all the time. And luckily, Zhao Ting came to save him. And she's like, oh, why don't you fight back? And for him, it's like, well, he kind of came up with an excuse because he wasn't a good fighter. And, it's just him trying to justify it. But he's like, yo, I'm smart enough to know if they beat me up, they're going to get in trouble later, and that's going to damage them in the long run. And Zhao Ting called him so smart, and she talked about like, yeah, my dad always says everyone has a unique weapon to them that isn't the same as someone else's, you know. So like, oh, you being smart as a weapon. So that's why he dived into, like, leaned into being smart. He was like, if I'm going to rise through the ranks, because I want to be by Zhao Ting's side forever, so I need to prove myself. And that's was his dedication, his reason for moving up the ranks, was just so he could stay by her side. And it's like, I'm gonna use my weapon that no one else really has, that's unique to me. I might not have the physical strength, but no one can match me on the mental strength. So that motivation is what kept him going, is why he wanted to be at the top of the family. Just any excuses. I mean, that's also why he wants to take Lou back, even though he's like, yeah, I won't let anyone take away Lou's peaceful days. It's like, well, you're kind of taking away her peaceful days that she has now, but it's like, well, to be fair, with all this hitman stuff and slur and everything, you're kind of, her peaceful days won't be peaceful. But it's like, yeah, like, you're kind of not wanting Lou to do what she wants because, well, Xiao Ting to do what she wants because you're selfishly wanting to be by her side. So, but yeah, was not expecting it to be a draw. I thought that was interesting. So it came down to one final game. Once again, none of them fully know how any of these games play. So it's like, hey, was it Old Maid? Essentially, it's like whoever has the Joker last at the end of a round loses. So until we get down to the last person, whoever on the team, whoever's the last member on any team ends up being the winner. So I love that Lou is too much of an open book, and it's just kind of like I was almost hoping for a second. I was like, please tell me Zhao Ting is so good at this that she's actually bluffing so hard. But it's like, no, she's too honest. Luckily, Wu Tang is so in love with her that he purposely took the Joker card from her. It's like, well, that worked out in the end. Shin tried to read Wu-Tang's mind, but the problem is Wu-Tang overloaded his mind, because he's like, oh, there's layers to, like, but how deep can you read someone's mind? Like, what are the different layers of someone's consciousness can you read? And he basically overloaded. And I love the example they use where it's basically Hisuke like staring into the sun with a magnifying glass and it overwhelming him and burning his eyes. I'm like, why do you have to use Hisuke in that display? You could have just, Shin could have been the one to do it for it, but it's like, nah, Hisuke's stupid enough to do it. So, but yeah, Shin got knocked out. We never got to see Zhao Ting get knocked out, but it's like, I guess when it was all said and done, Wu-Tang, I guess it's like, well, I can't protect you anymore, Zhao Ting, because maybe it was on someone else's side of things to make it so that she ended up getting knocked out. But it also might be a thing of, well, I have to knock you out because I have to win this because it's going to benefit me in the long run. Because it's like, well, I might, knock you out of the game, but it's all for the purposes of, being loyal to you, and you're going to be in the position you're in, and I'm going to take you away with me and everything, yada, yada, yada. So it's like, he's probably like, even if I have to be the one that knock you out of the game, it's going to be okay. But like I said, I get the feeling, considering that first round, it's most likely like someone else, like the other person on his team probably knocked her out. But either way, well, yeah, she could have easily, messed up on her own. But either way, Sakamoto cheats when the guy's just like, the guys are so disrespectful, just constantly calling him fatty. It's like, that's so mean. And telling him to hurry up. And I love Sakamoto just like checks the guy's hand to see that it's the Joker card and it switches the card around. And even Wu-Tang is like, did you just do that? Next time we try and catch you cheating, you'll lose. So when it comes down to that final round, he's able to read Sakamoto despite Sakamoto having such a good poker face. But he's like, oh, I know which card you're trying to protect. He goes for the ace, but then Sakamoto won't let go of it. And he's just like, Wu-Tang is pulling on the card with both hands and still can't get it. And I love just at the last second, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was holding on to it so hard. Lets loose, switches the cards instantly, and then Wu-Tang ended up losing. So I'm like, wow. I was like, it makes sense. It's not like you can perceive Sakamoto's so fast, you can't really perceive that. We saw, how stupidly fast he was when the guy was talking in slow motion when he was switching the cards around. But it's like, yeah, so you wouldn't even be able to perceive him cheating. So it's like, yeah, very slight. I don't know why. I don't know how I expected the games to play out, but I guess I should have expected there would be cheating involved on their side of things. But then it's like the people that are with with Wu-Tang decide to kind of form a mutiny because they're fine with what he wants to do. They just hate the way he goes about it, because for them it's just kind of for them it's like, oh, that's a very weak approach. Like you don't like we're all about like once again he looks down upon the hitmen for operating the way they do, but to be fair, it's like the mafia is no different because they're all about like, no, we have the strength and force, let's use it. Like because for them it's like we recognize the only reason why you do things your way, Wu-Tang, is because all you have is your smarts. You don't have any power, and they're tired of like having to handle things his very nerdy and dorky way. But then Sakamoto kind of gives him a pep talk of like, right, is this what you're going to do? Are you really going to give up? Because all this is for the purpose of you trying to impress your crush, right? And so Wu-Tang does the biggest bluff of like, yeah, you think I didn't know you guys would be the mutinous bastard you are? I made it so that your guns are going to explode on you if you pull the trigger. And then Sakamoto and Zhao Ting, because I guess Shin was still knocked out from that whole situation, and they proceed to knock everybody out. I love Sakamoto like sliding the cards real fast, like firing them like shuriken, and then like basically slicing those guys' clothes up. Then the pull ball thing where he's just whacking them with the pull cube and just like bouncing them off and ricocheting off of people. Zhao Ting just doing her thing, knocking everyone out. So ultimately, Wu-Tang accepts defeat, but now he's also working at Sakamoto's shop because I guess it's his way to stay around Zhao Ting. So I'm curious, like, is he just going to be working at Sakamoto's now? Which I brought up previously where I was like, oh, I think it's so interesting that Heisuke isn't working there, but I guess he's too much of an idiot for him to work there, despite Liu kind of, I mean, Zhao Ting being one too, but either way, I guess it's like, well, Heisuke is an even bigger idiot, so... But yeah, like, I guess he's just going to be permanently working here. I mean, it also makes sense. You got to put together a squad, and having Wu-Tang on your side would be good because he would be the strategist, so you need different roles for people to fill when it comes to, like, bolstering your side. So I'm curious to see if Wu-Tang stays around. To be fair, it's like a good chunk of the Liu family, like, you know, the people that were working with you ended up betraying you, so... I don't know if you're going to be like, yeah, I'm kind of still the leader of the Liu family, and I just kind of like, I don't know. I guess that's all on pause until like they figure out things going forward. So, but yeah, he also gives them some information. Obviously, it's like, well, we already know Slur was the one behind the bounty, but it's like there are leads to tracking him down, and it turns out there were 4 prisoners who were in prison for first-degree murder that got killed. But then, like, here in Japan, there was, like, 4 bodies that looked very similar to the same way those bodies were killed in prison. So it's like those 4 killers faked their deaths and managed to escape. And so we get introduced to said 4 killers who are the next threat. Basically, they've been set up by Slur to... Which is so interesting. Why not go after Sakamoto himself? But I guess it's like, no, like, Sakamoto and I will cross paths when we do. Like, if he can survive whatever wave I'm sending his way, then we'll meet up again. But, like, because Reindeer Dude shows up again, and it's like, yeah, he's saying, like, this is all for Slur's, you know, benefit. But we meet, what is it? So it's Minimalist, Apart, Saw, and Dump. Minimalist seems to be the one who can compress things because he's stupidly strong. It's like, it's going to be interesting to see how you compare to Sakamoto when it comes to like crazy strength. So that's going to be interesting. I'm sure that's going to be the matchup there. Because I think he's also the one with the most kills because he's got 370. We actually don't know what Sakamoto's kill count is. Like, that's not something that's really ever been brought up, and it's not something that's ever really been like, oh, this is an important thing. But it's like in his, cause we know they were, him and Boyle would go back to their teenage years where they were like training to be assassins, hitmen and stuff. But it's like, I think Sakamoto's in his 30s, late 20s, early 30s, maybe. I don't remember. I don't think they ever specified. Like, we know, like, back in the day, he was like a teenager. He was like 14 when he was at that training academy or whatever for being a hitman. But other than that, like, we don't know how old he is right now. So I'd say like late 20s, if not early to mid 30s. So like he's spent maybe like half his life as an hitman. Sorry. So once again, we don't know how especially like, considering like you weren't just a regular hitman either, you were also part of the order, so that's something special too, where you've killed just regular people you're hired to do that, and also you've killed other hitmen too. So that I'm sure that plays a role in it. And I don't know if that's going to be something they're going to bother, like, like I'm bouncing all over the place. I'm sorry. My thing is, I'm curious, are they going to like do like how One Piece gives you a decent enough idea of where someone is on the scale just because of like their bounties, right? That's a decent enough scale of like, oh, this is just someone to be wary about because of their bounties. I'm curious if kills are supposed to be that, like, because you're implying like, right, minimalist is the strongest one of them all, because like the next one after him was, I think it was Apart, has like 200 and something. Saul has like 64, and I can't remember how many Dump had. Dump had like 100 and something. So I can only assume Saul's the one that dismembers bodies. I'd assume Apart is the one that scrapes the flesh off, and that Dump is the one that's got all the holes in the body, but Apart and Dump could be flipped. So who knows? Apart also reminds me of Home Dude from the guy with the hammer from The Order, because it's like, oh, I need you to he flipped out on that cook because he had onions in his food, and this guy's flipping up being, well, he's kind of the opposite, where it's like, oh my god, there are pickles up here, oh, I might as well just die, I just want to die. Whereas like Home Dude was all about like, oh, you put onions in my food, I'm gonna punish you and hurt you. So both, one is more outwardly hostile towards people who screw up his orders, the other one turns it inwardly and it's just like, oh, I want to die. So that's interesting. But yeah, Reindeer Deer hires them, and it's like, yeah, here, kill. Not only is Sakamoto and his squad on the list, also we saw Nagumo, so they're going after the order as well. And so it is going to be interesting to see, because these people don't think, I guess, I don't know if they don't know who Sakamoto is. They see the picture and I'm sure like the information's there, but I guess they don't really know Sakamoto by reputation or something like that, because they're like, because he's like, yo, if you underestimate these people, you could end up dying. They're like, really? He's like, we'll be back in a month. If you don't have another list of targets for us, we'll just go on a killing spree here in Japan. So, but yeah, it's so interesting because Reindeer Do is all about, doing some evil for the greater good type of thing. That's always been his perspective. It's all about like this very heavy cleave of justice, of you do, like, even if you have to go about it a terrible way, like pure justice is, even if you have to do some evil for pure justice, he's saying like, right, these people don't kill for money or anything, they live to kill. And it's like, yeah, these aren't the best people, and it's, even he has his lines of like, that doesn't really sit well with me, but it's all for his sake. So Slur being the cult leader that's kind of swept you up and made you feel seen and respected because of your perspective on things, and because of that you'll forever be indebted to him. So you're willing to put aside your own principles because like this guy means everything, that he's my everything. So when he wants something done, I'll go along with it. I'll believe and trust in him, so we'll see how this all shakes out. But obviously Wu-Tang try to warn the squad like, you need to leave, but for them it's like, no, we can, because it's extra motivation of, if we don't do something to stop these people, they could go out and hurt other people. So it's kind of, they coming after us, we'll stop them to also stop them from hurting other people. So it's going to be interesting to see where the second half of this season takes us. I had made the whole point last episode. I was curious to see whether there's going to take a break or not. It seems like it is. The show will be returning with the second half of season 1 in July. I think season 2 with Dan to Dan's around that time, maybe June, July, something like that. So, but either way, I'm excited to see where the back half of this season takes us. I believe today, at the time of me recording this, the episode just dropped on Netflix today, but like, I do believe there is a trailer out. I don't know if it's a mid-trailer like up for season 1, or whether it's like a mid-season trailer for season 2. I probably one for season 2. So, but I'm not season 2, sorry, part 2 of this season. But yeah, we're going to get 11 more episodes. I'm excited to see where the back half of this season takes us, what ends up happening, how much these four, I'm sure it's all going to revolve around, I'm assuming like this is, Slur is only going to be this arc. I don't think he's going to be like the main overarching villain. He's probably going to be the main villain of this season, and where things go beyond that, or who knows, he could easily be not dealt with and ends up still being a continuous threat later on in the story. Once again, I've never read the manga, so I don't know the direction the story ends up going, but obviously these 4 killers are going to be our initial threat. So it's going to be interesting to see how Team Sakamoto deals with this upcoming threat as we potentially use them as a jumping off point to also learn more about Slur, who he really is, and his motivations on why he's doing what he's doing. So, but really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.